Welcome to the IVF Journey with Dr. Michael Chapman, the podcast for couples who struggle with infertility and want to fulfill their dreams of becoming parents. In this podcast, you'll learn actionable strategies to deal with infertility from Dr. Michael Chapman, or Prof as he's affectionately known. Prof is the co-founder of IVF Australia and is a leading Australian infertility specialist who has helped over 3,000 couples realise their dreams of becoming parents. To access previous episodes packed with ideas, solutions and tips that actually work, head over to Dr. Chapman's IVF podcast on iTunes. You can also ask questions by contacting Dr. Chapman's rooms on 1800 111 483 or by emailing him michael.chapman@ivf.com.au.
That first cry of a baby born after the long journey of IVF remains one of the most beautiful experiences in the world. As an obstetrician and an IVF specialist, I've had the privilege of experiencing this over many thousands of times in my long career, but I still remain moved by each baby's first cry. It signifies the end of a long journey and the beginning of a new life. This is Professor Michael Chapman, co-founder of IVF Australia and host of the IVF Journey podcast. Thanks for tuning in. To access all the previous episodes, head over to my website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey Podcast from the navigation menu. You'll also be able to find the various services that we provide at IVF Australia. So in the last 3 weeks I have been involved in a publication in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It's a very prestigious journal, and we were very pleased that they took on this publication. The article reported one of the biggest trials of acupuncture in relation to fertility. This was a study that was run by Professor Caroline Smith from the University of Western Sydney, who is Professor of Complementary Medicine. In other words, all the alternative therapies that are used for multiple medical conditions, including fertility. Indeed, there are many natural therapists, acupuncturists, Chinese herbalists who are making substantial claims about their individual care resulting in improved pregnancy rates. So acupuncture has been one of those areas, and almost any website that you look at, if you go to fertility treatments, acupuncture will come up, and there will be practitioners saying that they can improve your chances of success by the use of acupuncture. Over the last 25 years, as that push has occurred and more women are seeking acupuncture because they do believe it may help, there have been a number of studies. We're now probably up to more than 20 studies that have been published in the world literature, most of them on small groups of patients. Almost all of them have indicated no obvious effect. There have been a couple that have potentially shown hope. It was against that backdrop that Professor Smith, myself and others put up to the NHMRC, our National Medical Health and Research Council, a proposal to fund a significant trial to prove one way or another that acupuncture did or didn't work in improving fertility rates. The areas that in the past had shown some potential in the use of acupuncture have related primarily to acupuncture just prior to and just after embryo transfer. So that's what we concentrated on in this study. The NHMRC accepted that this was a useful study to be done, which is quite remarkable because in many people's eyes they shouldn't be funding complementary medicine research. We should be concentrating on real research. There was a retired professor from Prince of Wales Hospital who was quite disgusted that the MH and MRC were spending $400,000 on this trial when he knew it would be useless, he said. So anyway, we got the funding, which was great, and over a period of 3 years, we recruited over 800 patients into a randomized study. So half the patients got real acupuncture, and the other half got what was called sham acupuncture. So they thought they were getting acupuncture, but the little gadget that we used didn't penetrate the skin, and therefore they didn't have acupuncture at all. We had some difficulty in recruiting the numbers because when we talked about acupuncture, many patients already had it, or having offered the opportunity of having it but have 50% chance of not having it, i.e. having the sham treatment, they preferred to go to their local acupuncturist and get the real McCoy because they thought that they needed it. So that brings us to the punchline. After this 3 years of study and after analysis of the data, the follow-up of the pregnancies, the bottom line is that acupuncture prior to and after embryo transfer does not improve pregnancy rates. So it was a negative finding. The question is, will people stop doing acupuncture because of this properly run, randomized controlled trial? Personally, I doubt it, because practitioners are out there claiming it works. But at least on a scientific basis, I can look a patient in the eye when I sit in my consulting rooms talking about what we can do to improve pregnancy rates and say, well, I've done this study, been involved in this study, and it doesn't produce an improvement in your pregnancy rates. What does it do? Well, maybe it relaxes people, but even that relaxation, if not a physical thing, still doesn't change the fact that acupuncture doesn't improve pregnancy rates. Sadly, there are very many treatments that are being offered out in the big wide world of complementary medicine where the practitioners are claiming things that are unproven, that haven't been scientifically evaluated. Why do they get credibility then? Well, it's a bit like this. When somebody approaches one of these practitioners or even a fertility specialist and they've been trying to get pregnant for 3 months and they're frustrated because they want to be pregnant now, I can give them some placebo medication and I know that in the next 12 months, over 80% of those people will actually get pregnant. Doing nothing will get them pregnant from an intervention perspective because the natural rate of conception is around 15 to 20% per month. Now, if you've been to a practitioner who's given you some herbal medicine or given you acupuncture and you happen to be in that 15 to 20%, they will claim that as a victory for their intervention. But it's not. It's just pure chance. Once you get out to 12 months of trying, then we're really into proper infertility. Those patients, will they benefit from those interventions? And I can bet that if you looked at the records of these practitioners, for patients that really had tried for 12 months, their success rates would be very poor. But not too poor, because even then, in unexplained infertility, in the second 12 months of trying, 50% of them will get pregnant in that time without any intervention. No acupuncture, no herbal treatment, nothing. Unfortunately, the acupuncturists would claim that it was their treatment that got them pregnant, whereas in fact, nature works. So in fact, I'd say to patients who have unexplained infertility who come to me and say, oh, I think I want to have IVF after 12 months of trying, they have a 50% chance, which is better than one cycle of IVF with all its expense and intervention. They've got a better chance on their own and doing nothing and being patient. The problem in today's society is we're not a patient society. We want what we want and we want it now, which makes people very susceptible to claims by practitioners, both natural practitioners and, I have to say, the medical profession as well. We love to intervene because then we take the glory, where in fact nature may have solved the problem in a vast majority of cases. So, going back to our study, it was published in JAMA and has received a significant positive response certainly from the medical world, in now having some real evidence to advise patients. I'm not sure, however, it will change the seeking out of acupuncturists into the future, because fertility patients really are desperate people at times. And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey Podcast from the navigation menu.
Thank you for listening to the IVF Journey with Dr. Michael Chapman, the podcast which helps couples negotiate their way through the IVF journey, all the way to parenthood. You can also ask questions by contacting Dr. Chapman's rooms on 1800 111 483 or by emailing him michael.chapman@ivf.com.au.